When you talk about illegal migrants, and it's a huge crisis at the border, and after 3 years, obviously the Democrats bear the primary responsibility. Why do you use words like vermin and poisoning of the blood? The press, as you know, immediately reacts to that by saying, well, that's the kind of language that Hitler and Mussolini used.
Well, that's what they say. I didn't know that, but that's what they say. Because our country is being poisoned.
So that was former President Donald Trump, who this morning gave an interview with Fox News, which we're going to show you more of in just a second. But first, let's just start with this issue of the former president's dehumanization of immigrants. Now, you just heard him say he had no idea. Oh, that's what they say about his rhetoric literally echoing Hitler's when it comes to calling immigrants vermin who are poisoning the blood of our country. Now, it's hard to give the former president the benefit of the doubt when not just his former chief of staff says that Trump has a fascination with Hitler, but even his first wife, Ivana, said that he has a fascination with Hitler. She said he used to keep his speeches by his bed. And if you listen to him speak, you can tell that's probably the case. Hitler didn't just call immigrants vermin who were poisoning the blood of his country.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison.
He also said things like the fake press are the enemy of the people.
Fake news. Fake, disgusting news. The fake media. And the fake news refuse to call it, right? When you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
And that he needed mass deportation camps to get them out.
Of the Biden administration, we begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, larger than that by far of Dwight Eisenhower. You know, Eisenhower had a similar problem, but peanuts by comparison.
Now, the operation Trump was just talking about under Eisenhower was a program literally called, I kid you not, Operation Wetback, to get undocumented immigrants out of the country. Now, something Hitler also did was claim that the threat to Germany wasn't really from outside adversarial countries, but was really an internal threat from leftists and communists.
But the biggest threat we have, it's the threat from within. It's the radical left lunatics that we have in our country. That's a much bigger threat than outside threats, I will tell you right now. We can handle the outside pretty easily if you're smart.
So look, we don't need to say Trump is Hitler or a Nazi, but one thing is for sure, he sure sounds like Hitler did when he was trying to rile up one half of Germany against the other half. Now, one of the things Trump is unfortunately really good at is making these outlandish, dangerous claims and coming back and trying to clarify his statements. Like how he says he was really just talking about how immigrants who are coming in from insane asylums in Latin America, which, of course, there's zero evidence of. He's unfortunately rhetorically very smart when it comes to playing the media, going overboard, then trying to qualify his statement and make it sound like he was saying something rational, which of course his quote unquote rational comments are just lies about who's coming into the country.
Look, we have, and we can be nice about it. We can talk about, oh, I want to be politically correct, but we have people coming in from prisons and jails, long-term murderers, people with sentences that the rest of their lives they're going to spend in some jail in some country that many people have never even heard of. They're all being released into our country. These are murderers. These are people at the highest level of crime. And then you have mental institutions and insane asylums. I always say the difference is one is Silence of the Lamb. You know, it's a mental institution on steroids, okay? And those mental institutions and insane asylums are being emptied out into the United States. And then you have terrorists pouring in at levels that we have never seen before. This is a horrible thing. Only bad is going to come of it. A friend of yours, Sean Hannity, said it's 100% certain that there'll be big problems here very soon. He means an attack.
I know there's a lot of concern
about that. And he does say that, and I say, you happen to be right.
Now, he was then asked about whether Alexei Navalny, Putin's chief opposition in Russia, was really killed by Putin. Here's what he had to say about that.
He said that the sudden death of Alexei Navalny in a Siberian prison camp was horrible and that he was very brave, and there's no question about that. And you say that you're going through a form of Navalny. But here's the thing. The media, as you know, blame Putin. Joe Biden blames Putin. Much of the civilized world blames Putin. Do you believe Vladimir Putin has some responsibility for the death of Alexei Navalny?
I don't know, but perhaps. I mean, possibly. I could say probably. I don't know. He's a young man, so statistically he'd be alive for a long time, right? If you go by the insurance numbers, he'd be alive for another 40 years. So something happened that was unusual.
Well, obviously, he survived a poisoning attempt
Yeah,
by the
he did.
Kremlin
He
and
did.
barely lived, went back, got jailed, and then suddenly he keels over. They don't release the body. I mean, how could anything like that happen without Putin and high-ranking Kremlin officials sanctioning it?
Well, I don't know. You certainly can't say for sure, but certainly that would look like something very bad happened, right?
I think we can agree on that.
I think so.
Yeah, now Trump is an insurance actuary. Well, by insurance standards, he died early. He then refused to answer directly whether he'd allow Putin to take all of Ukraine if elected, instead just saying that the war would have never happened under him.
If it was next January 20th,
Yeah.
and you were sworn in,
Yeah.
would you be willing to see Putin swallow part or all of Ukraine? Or would you provide military aid?
I hope that it doesn't come to that. That's a long time. You know, we're talking about, you're talking about 9 months in that case, right? 7 months, a little more than 7 months for the election itself. That's an eternity in terms of war and in terms of politics and in terms of the world. If we had a real leader, he would have never done that. Remember, he didn't do it. For 4 years, he didn't do it. And there was no real threat that he'd do it. And I spoke to him about it. I said, you can't do it. You can't do it. It was the apple of his eye. I got to know him very well. I had a good relationship with him. It was the apple of his eye. But he would never have done it if I was president.
He was then asked about Roe v. Wade, where he insisted that what he did to get it overturned was a good thing.
A lot of things were done with Roe by killing it. Number one, we brought it back to the
Of course, your
states.
justices to the Supreme Court that made that possible.
They did.
Yeah.
And you know, they did something that from a lot of standpoints is extremely good. Number one, the Democrats.
Now, the former president then, of course, went on to rant about the election, say it was rigged, claim everyone knows it was rigged, and his usual charade of repeating a lie over and over again to gaslight viewers into believing it. No need to show you that. One thing is clear if you watch his recent speeches and rallies. His rhetoric is getting more extreme, his claims about immigrants and his political opponents are more violent, and his glorification of the January 6th insurrectionists more over the top.
Please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
This is a crazed lunatic who is using the authoritarian playbook. Whose playbook? Well, his former wife would say Hitler. With Really American, I'm Justin Horwitz. Do us a huge favor, like, subscribe, hit notifications. We're going to continue bringing you everything you need to know in this very important election year, but we can't do it without you. Thanks.